Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show. I am delighted to have my dear friend and psychiatrist, Dr. Stacia Mills, on today's show. Welcome, Stacia.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here because mental wellness while trying to conceive is one of the most important things that I talk to my patients about at the beginning of their journey. And I've been so grateful to you for all your help, as you've also helped so many of my patients as well. That's what we're going to talk about today, a guide to mental wellness while trying to conceive. I'd like to share with our listeners and viewers more about you. Dr. Stacia Mills is a reproductive psychiatrist currently providing telehealth services from Oakland, California. She earned her bachelor's degree in biopsychology from Mills College in 2006 and her medical degree from UCSF in 2011, followed by a residency at the University of Southern California and LA County. She completed this in 2015. She is passionate about supporting women with their mental health during family planning, pregnancy, and postpartum phases. In January of 2024, Dr. Mills founded Freedom Psychiatry, a practice that offers compassionate, personalized mental health care with extended appointment times, a holistic approach, and the convenience of telehealth. Welcome again, Stacia.
Thanks so much.
So let's get started. I'd love to have you share what led you to become a psychiatrist who specializes in the mental health of family planning, infertility, pregnancy, and postpartum.
So it was a little bit of a long road to get here, but it started out when I was younger. And I actually have a somewhat extensive mental illness history in my family. So I knew when I was quite young that I wanted to help people to feel mentally well. And I was able to see how important it was.
And can you explain why a patient would opt to see a psychiatrist and how your practice differs from, let's say, a therapist or psychologist?
I get this question all the time, actually. So, a therapist is kind of an umbrella term that talks about somebody who offers talk therapy. So, that could be a counselor, could be a social worker, could be a marriage and family therapist. Also, it could be a psychologist or it could be a psychiatrist. So, if you're looking at someone who's a therapist, who is a marriage and family therapist, who is a counselor or a social worker, they're at master's level degree. If you're looking at a psychologist, they have a doctorate level, a PhD, and they usually will focus on either research, talk therapy, or both. Now, they sometimes, in certain states in the United States, are able to prescribe medications, but only mental health medications. And it's actually only after 80 hours of a pharmaceutical course. So, on the other hand, you have a psychiatrist, which is what I am. I'm an MD. And so that means that I go through a long training, 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, then 4 more years of residency training. That's special for psychiatry. After all of that, I can be a psychiatrist, and then I offer medications that I can prescribe. And usually people opt to see a psychiatrist because they're curious about learning more about any options with medications to help them with their mental health.
I don't think there's enough awareness about how medications can help fertility patients. And a lot of times people reach out far too late in their journey. That's why I think this conversation is so important, so that patients know that they can start seeing you from the very beginning if they're feeling symptoms like depression or anxiety. So they can see if, for example, prescription medication would be helpful from the beginning.
Absolutely.
So you just wrote an ebook, which I'm really excited to talk about, A Brief Guide to Mental Wellness While Family Planning, and we'll link it in the show notes so anyone can get it if they would like. You discuss the stress of family planning. What are some of the most common mental health challenges people face during this time?
So, the most common mental health challenges that people face, at least as far as new diagnoses come along, are things like depression and anxiety. Now, depression is where someone is feeling down or sad for 2 weeks or more, and then there'll be symptoms that accompany it, like disturbances in sleep and appetite, low energy, concentration problems, not feeling like anything's fun. Anxiety is a little different, though similar, because you often will have disturbances in appetite and sleep, but you'll be worrying excessively over things that you used to be able to keep in stride.
I mean, that kind of sounds like a fertility journey right there.
Yeah, it's true.
Downs, the highs and the lows. Your fertility treatment's 2 weeks. You don't know what's going to happen. You're sad. You don't want to leave the house. You're anxious. You're always worrying. So I feel like getting that in check is so important. The biggest risk factor for a fertility patient, I think, is depression and anxiety. So knowing that there are doctors like you out there to help with that, I think is so important. So what advice do you have for individuals with pre-existing mental health concerns who are trying to plan for pregnancy or undergoing fertility treatment?
So, this is a great question, and I'm glad that you asked it because I know that you're very big on planning for your fertility, and I'm super big on planning for your mental wellness. So, if you are somebody who knows that you have a mental illness, or you find that you're having symptoms that you're not feeling so well before you're actually going to become pregnant, the best thing is to get your support system in order. And that means two different kinds of supports. It means your support system for your family, your friends, your social support, and then also your support system for your mental health. So, any mental health professionals that are able to help you. With that, it's important to know that there are medications that they can also help you with if you see a reproductive psychiatrist. The other thing I want to remind everyone is that around the time that we often are looking to conceive or family planning is the same time, interestingly, where we may start to show the first symptoms of depression, anxiety, or any mental illness. And it actually is independent. It just happens to be about the same time that we tend to have babies.
So it's basically around the age that people are starting their families or growing their families is around the same age where people are more prone to these kinds of mental health challenges.
A lot of mental health challenges are really starting in your 20s, 30s, and even sometimes in your 40s.
So, what about for patients who are already on medication? What do they need to know about continuing or starting psychiatric medications while trying to conceive or while they're in fertility treatment? What advice do you have for them?
The first thing I like to tell people is that there's no hard and fast rules. Well, a couple, but mostly no hard and fast rules for being pregnant or going through the fertility journey and psychiatric medications. It's all case by case basis.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about case by case, I usually tell people that we'll start and we'll look at risks. First thing of the risks of being on medications and to yourself and to the fetus and newborn during lactation. But then also the risks of having an untreated mental health condition while you're pregnant, while you're trying to bond with your newborn, those sorts of things. Because if you have an untreated mental health condition, what can happen is it causes inflammation, which is harmful to you and it's harmful to the fetus. And then you have a difficult time bonding with your newborn.
Yeah, that is also true. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I find my patients who are on psychiatric medication, sometimes they wait too long to grow their family because they're just so scared about stopping the medications because they feel like they need to for some reason. And so I just want to tell anyone out there who's listening to this that you don't need to be scared. You'll get support from Stacia, from a fertility doctor like me. And so it's really important to get educated about this so that you're not making assumptions that are incorrect about the medications you're taking and trying to conceive.
I really appreciate you saying that because sometimes people will go to a doctor and a doctor will actually be the one to tell them that they have to get off of all of their medications. And that's just not the case because we want everyone to feel as well as possible because things are going to be different and they're going to be changing a lot. And you want to be feeling your best self.
And I feel like when a doctor is saying that to their patient, they're basically saying, I don't really want to help you.
Yeah.
In a way. So, managing stress and intense emotions during fertility treatment can be overwhelming. What are some strategies you recommend to help individuals cope with the often emotional roller coaster that accompanies these procedures?
Yeah, I think the first thing is what's most important is to remember that this is going to be stressful and it often will be, like you said, an emotional roller coaster, and that the stigma is there and it's very real. In our culture, we're not embracing people who are soon to be parents talking about their fertility journeys. And then there's all this pressure from family members at times, and it's difficult and it can make somebody feel isolated. And I want to let everybody know that you're not alone in this, that there are people that are here for you. I like to stress the importance of a social support system with people who are not going to be pressuring you, your friends, family, anybody who you can find. And also, there are people who do peer support groups, and they do support groups at mental health clinics.
Yeah.
Also, make sure that you get a psychiatrist there to help you out through this too, because we're here and this is what we do.
And especially if you are experiencing depression and anxiety, you're at higher risk for postpartum depression and anxiety. So finding a psychiatrist like you early in the journey, I think is really necessary so that person knows you really well so that when you deliver and if you're experiencing challenges, you're already plugged in. You don't have to start a new relationship with a psychiatrist at your time of need. So, your guide also emphasizes lifestyle changes for improved mental health and fertility. Can you highlight a few lifestyle recommendations that can support both things, both emotional well being and reproductive health?
Absolutely. I love talking about lifestyle changes and nutrition. Most important, I think, is to start with very simply a prenatal vitamin. I think that's something that's easy to forget because we all like to take our multivitamins, but really you want to start with a prenatal one because it's going to give you extra nutrients that you're going to need and that your fetus is going to need. So that's number one. And then number two, I love talking about nutrition. And nutrition is really paramount. It I usually like to have people start with nutrition by looking at what they're currently eating. So, being really honest with yourself, just sitting down by yourself in a quiet area, write down what you eat on an average day, and then really look at it and say to yourself, okay, where can I make some tweaks if that's something you're interested in doing? So things like soda, I love to tell people, hey, soda is a real easy thing to knock out and make yourself so much healthier. So replacing it with things like water. If you like flavor though, then you can have flavored water. You can also have, sparkling water or sparkling flavored water if you want to get really fancy. Also, with processed foods, you want to try to replace those as much as possible with things like whole foods. And I always joke that, okay, Whole Foods is not just a grocery store, it's an actual edible item that's entirely from nature. Things like vegetables, fruits, lean meats and fish, and whole grains. I just like people to, as much as possible, try to put those into their diet. And then
Yeah.
my favorite thing to say is that there's no such thing as too many vegetables because really, I know we have a hard time eating vegetables. It's not the easiest thing to always do, but it's really, really good for you. I like to highlight doing exercise. And the thing with exercise that I've really found is that the hardest part is sticking with it. And so, what I like to tell people is to do something that you like. If you don't like the gym, then don't get a membership because you'll just waste your money. If you like to dance, then take a dance class or go out with your friends, but just skip the alcohol to keep yourself as healthy as possible. If you have a dog or a pet that you like to walk outside, then walk briskly or walk further than usual. And then the last thing is sleep. That is one of the most overlooked lifestyle recommendations, really. And the interesting thing about sleep, a lot of people don't know that not only is it good for your mental health, it's also good for your fertility if you're getting consistent, regular sleep.
Yeah, hydration, nutrition, all of that is so important. And I'm glad that you bring that up because not many doctors do when they're talking to their patients. So it's good that you're also reinforcing the same things that I think can help with fertility, also. That's huge. So I want to talk a little bit about how your work is also inclusive of all family planning journeys, all of them. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I like to just tell people that I am completely open. I'm not here to judge you with what you've been going through. I know it's very easy to find people who are judging about mental health because the stigma is such a problem. And then, like we just said, the stigma is such a problem with fertility treatments. I just also want people to know that I I sit here to help. I don't sit here to be judgy. And it's actually one of the reasons I got into working with people who are on their reproductive journey, because I think there's just so much pressure on people to have children to the point that they're supposed to sacrifice everything of themselves about it and not take care of themselves first. Because, the flight attendants have it right. If there's a drop in cabin pressure, you put on your own mask first and then you help other people. So if you're going to show up for your family, you have to show up for yourself first. And I just want to help people reach that goal to live their best life.
That was very well said. That was great. If someone would like to work with you, find your practice, how do they find you and how do you work with patients?
Yeah, so I see adults in California and I can be found many ways. So my website is freedom-psychiatry.com. Also, it's staciamills.com will also come up. And on my website, I have a contact form if you want to contact me through there. I have my phone number listed if you prefer the phone. In addition, all of your patients can email me directly if they would like. It's Dr. Mills at freedom-psychiatry.com. And I do have nutrition classes that I'm offering and lifestyle classes that are self-paced that they can buy from anywhere. I just want to let people know that if you're looking for a psychiatrist to help you with your medication management, make sure that they offer a time where you can go and you can ask them questions before you pay the full fee to do an initial consultation. I do offer that myself. You can go to my website and click on the book appointment button and schedule one, and you'll be able to talk with me for free for 15 minutes so we can see if we click well. I think it's very important to ask questions so that you feel comfortable with the person, because if you're not comfortable, then you can't tell them what's going on and then they can't help you.
I'd like to talk a little bit about your ebook, A Brief Guide to Mental Wellness While Family Planning. Where can they get your ebook?
Yeah, so my ebook is listed on Amazon for $9.99. The easiest way to find it is to search for my name, Stacia Mills, and it'll come right up. But for a limited time, all of your patients and listeners, Dr. Amy, are able to get it for free on my website.
Oh, no way.
So,
Thank you.
yes, absolutely. I'm excited to have people come to my website, see what's there, just explore and get comfortable with the idea of mental wellness. And I want them to just go to my website. Like I said, is freedom-psychiatry.com. And then at the top of the homepage, there will be a link where they just provide their email and it'll download the PDF for them.
Oh, that's great.
All in color, just beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you for working so hard on that and for providing that to my patients. That's fantastic. So, Stacia, thank you so much for talking to us today about the importance of mental health and well-being for my patients and for everybody. Is there anything else you would like to add today?
I really want to encourage everyone, especially if you're on your fertility journey, to prioritize your mental wellness. This is a new idea in our culture, is to prioritize mental wellness, but I really want people to think about it and to do so. If you want to be your best self for you and your family, you've got to be your best whole self, mental, physical, reproductive wellness. And remember that you are worth the effort, the time, and the cost to have yourself feel well and live your best life. As I like to say, mental health is freedom.
It really is, though, isn't it? Mental health is freedom. Freedom is knowing the path forward, and having you there to help people is tremendous. So thank you, Stacia. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank you.